Hi guys, today in this video I am going to show you how to make a sign on Cricut. So I decided I wanted to make a sign for how far each Disney park is away from Fort Collins, Colorado. That is where I live. So what I did is I went into maps and kind of figured out how to find the distance from each park. I didn't record this because at first I had put my address in there and that wasn't working, and then I finally just had to not use maps and just Google the amount. So we're gonna just hop right into this video. This first screen you're gonna see is I had already found a font that I wanted, and I am now just typing out the rest of the park. So I'm just typing out each park and kind of placing it up together, and you'll see me doing that here. And I will say I'm still getting used to the Cricut design space, moving around everything, working with the font. So this round I didn't have the straightest fonts on there, but I have found new tips and tricks that I will share with you. And it's just kind of keeping them on the lines and keeping the words together that way. But it's really practice takes perfect when it comes to this stuff. And yes, I'm aware I spelled Shanghai wrong. I do end up fixing that later in the video. So now what I do is I go ahead and ungroup the words and then move them closer together. So that's what I'm doing that is what I'm doing right now. And like I said on this part, what I should have done is I should have worked on a line to keep everything even instead of trying just to eye it by myself. So when you are doing this, kind of choose a line you want to work on and have all your letters go evenly on that. But once you get all your letters together, you'll regroup them together, and then at the bottom you'll see a little weld button and you'll press that. So that way when you go to cut everything, it cuts nicely for you and you don't have any overlappage or you don't have the letters not together. So I just do this through all of them. I ungroup, move the letters in the placement I want, regroup, and weld together. And as you can see there, the way I just fixed the B into an N is I just clicked on it and changed the letter, and then I was dumb and put an H instead of an N, but I just was able to refix it. So that's just how you do that. So don't stress if you misspell things. in here I accidentally attached instead of weld, so I just was able to disattach it, and then I just kind of moved everything over because I ended up shifting the paper and I didn't know how to move it back, so I just wanted to be able to see everything and kind of get an idea. And then I went into typing out the miles for each one. At first I didn't put a comma, but then I decided that a comma would be necessary because it made it look a lot nicer. So you will see here I did cut that part out, but I did end up adding a comma in on the miles number amount. And just like the words, I ungrouped them and moved them back over into the placement I'd like, and then regroup and weld together. So now what I'm doing is I'm attaching all of it together, so that way when I send it to the mat to be printed, it doesn't just pull all the words in different places. And so you can see, since it is longer, it did flip it on the side and it just said I needed a bigger mat. So now I'm just pushing down my vinyl to where I want, opening up my Cricut, inserting the mat, and pressing cut. I also do, as you see on here, there's a little button that says fast mode, so I always put it in that so that way it goes faster. I don't know about you guys, but for me it's so relaxing watching the Cricut just cut away. So you want to pull your stuff away for having the mat upside down, and then this is just me weeding through everything. This material is a lot harder, so I did cut out weeding everything and fast forward a lot of it. I did have to use a thicker blade for this material as well, so just be aware of what your material is, because if you use the normal blade, it doesn't cut it and it makes it really, really hard to weed it. and it was still hard to weed with the thicker blade. So I got all my pieces weeded, and then I went ahead and I got these signs from the dollar store, and I just went ahead and painted them black. And I didn't paint the bottom of all of them just because I knew I was going to be gluing them on top of each other. So at first I just did the sides and the bottom / top of 2. Then I took my transfer paper and I just placed it on top of all the pieces so that way I could just have them and go through onto the scraping of it. I don't know if that's the right word. I like to scrape the front and the back of my stuff because I feel like it helps it transfer onto the transfer tape a lot easier. And you can see I did tape over them a little bit, so I had to move them. So now I'm just kind of figuring out my placement of how I want my sign to look and moving them together. I grabbed a transfer tape box and put them together to kind of help with my spacing to make sure each ends are even. Then I took a Sharpie and marked the spots that I wanted to have placed, so that way when I went to hot glue everything together, I knew where to stop. And so I just did that all the way down. And always remember to be safe if you're using a hot glue gun, especially if you're using a power tool hot glue gun, because those things get hot. So just always stay safe, especially if you're doing crafts around your children. And then, so now that I have my placement on everything and have everything I like, I went ahead and painted the rest of the parts that you could see, so that way it was all black. So I painted the tops and the bottoms of each sides of them. The paint does dry super fast, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but none of the words were going on those parts anyways, so it didn't affect my work progress. And then I'm just filling in some of those cracks that you could see with the boards popping out. And now I am placing my vinyls on. So like I was saying before with my wording, I did realize that the letters were kind of Cricut for that top one. I tried my best to make it as even as I could after I did transfer it on to the board. It was still a little Cricut, so I had to re-lift up and take off to kind of move it around on there too. And as you can see too, I did rub the transfer tape on there some more, so that way I could get an even or a good pull apart on there. And this, you just see me trying to figure out how to get it as even as I possibly could. Like I said, it wasn't the most straight project, but for my first real Cricut project, I call it a win. And here you can see me fiddling with the miles and the Disney, and then since I did scrape up the wood a little bit, I had to repaint. But like I said, it's It's okay. You can get it to work. And I just kind of rubbed it back down to make sure nothing was gonna pop up on it. And this is the final project. I did throw a little glitter over it as well to give it an extra shine, but this is how it turns out, and I really love it, and I would suggest anybody wanting to make it if you can. You don't even need to have a Cricut. You can use it by freehand as well. Have a great day, and thanks for watching, guys. Bye.